In the last episode, I'd briefly talked about what it took to stay after my transition into tech sales. Not the part that looks good on a resume, not the leap itself, but the challenging part that comes after, and people hardly talk about it. The identity disorientation, the moments of wondering whether I belonged, the steep learning curve that sometimes felt like drinking water from a fire hose. And near the end of that episode, I mentioned something. I said that I sought guidance. I found mentors who helped me see through the fog. That those conversations became a source of light during one of the most disorienting chapters of my career. I want to come back to that today to expand on this topic because I think that deserves its own conversation entirely. If you're someone who is just starting out, someone who is in the middle of a career transition, someone who is sitting in a new environment and quietly wondering whether you made the right call, I want you to stay with me for this one because mentorship was not just something that helped me feel better during the transition. It was one of the primary reasons I was able to stay, to feel like I was not just surviving the environment, but growing inside of it, to eventually stop feeling like an outsider looking in. But here's the thing. Mentorship, it's nothing like what most people describe it as. Not the version that gets posted about on LinkedIn. Not the version as simple as finding someone who inspires you. Not the version that never mentions how vulnerable it feels to ask someone for help. I want to talk about the real version. The version that sometimes stings. The version where you do not always know what to ask. The version where you have to figure some things out on your own, even when you desperately want someone to just hand you the answers. The version that gets under your skin in the best possible way. The version that makes you look back one day and think, that conversation changed the trajectory of my life because I've had mentors who truly showed up for me, the kind who truly challenged me to grow, and what I learned from them surprised me. And I think you are going to want to hear this. Welcome to 1-800-GOLD-DIGGER, a space for honest conversation where I share the ugly truth that lives underneath all the glamour and celebration of success and growth. Let's dive into today's episode. When I first joined Red Hat, I walked into a world I didn't fully know yet. I had sales experience. I was not new to selling or to building relationships or to the rhythm of a pipeline. But the technology space is a different animal. The ecosystem is vast. It moves fast. The product knowledge alone felt like learning a new language while also being expected to speak it fluently in front of customers. And I definitely felt the pressure to close the gap fast, the pressure to perform before I felt ready, the pressure that comes with stepping into a global company after years in a small agency and realizing the scale of everything is just different. Maybe you know that feeling, that specific kind of pressure where you're still finding your footing, but the environment doesn't slow down to wait for you. So I did something that I think a lot of people wait too long to do. I asked for help. Not because I wanted a handout, but because I was honest enough with myself to admit that I could not do this alone. I needed people who had walked the path before me to help guide me so I wasn't navigating this in the dark. I sought out 2 mentors early on. The first was strong in technical knowledge, someone who could help me understand the product landscape and close the knowledge gap I brought in with me. We met bi-weekly. He walked me through the basics of Red Hat products, shared resources, pointed me to documentations and materials I could explore on my own time, and made sure I had a foundation to stand on before I walked into any customer conversation. And I want to be honest about what that looked like. It was useful. It was necessary, but it wasn't inspiring. It was logical, structured, the kind of learning that fills in the blanks but doesn't light a fire in you. There was nothing wrong with that. That was exactly that stage of the journey required. You cannot skip the fundamentals just because they're not glamorous. Sometimes growth looks less like breakthrough and more like sitting with a manual until things start to make sense. But I knew early on that product knowledge alone wasn't going to be enough. I needed something more than information. I needed someone to show me how to think, how to lead, how to carry myself in this new world. And that brought me to my second mentor. He was one of the top salespeople in the domain, the kind of person you watch in a customer call and think, I want to understand how he does that. And here's what he did that I will never forget. He invited me on customer calls. He shared his account planning documentation with me openly. He didn't guard his process or his framework or his institutional knowledge the way a lot of people in competitive environments do. He just shared, genuinely and generously. And I want you to really sit with that for a moment. Because in many professional environments, especially in competitive industries, especially as a woman who's newer to the space, you quickly learn that knowledge is often treated like a currency. People hoard it, they protect it, they share it selectively, if at all. So when someone opens that door for you without hesitation, without making you feel like you have to earn it first, it does something to you emotionally that's hard to describe. It felt like he had faith in me, not because he said it out loud, but because his actions said it. You do not share your best work with someone you do not believe in. And that matters to me more than I can fully articulate. Because when you are new to an industry, when you are still finding your footing, when you're quietly carrying the weight of feeling behind, having someone treat you like you already belong, like your success is worth investing in, it changes something in how you see yourself. It gave me permission to take up space in a world I was still learning to navigate. And if you're early in your journey right now, I hope you find someone like that. Someone who doesn't make you feel like you have to prove yourself before they will share anything real with you. I felt genuinely lucky to have him early on, and I still do. But luck, I have learned, doesn't always come wrapped in comfort. Sometimes it shows up in the form of someone who pushes you so hard you want to quit. Someone who doesn't make it easy. Someone who makes you better precisely because they refuse to let you stay comfortable. That is my other mentor, the one I still talk to constantly to this day. He's different. He's strict. Some might even say harsh. He has a phrase he uses often. The world is gray, so I try to be black and white when I speak to avoid any confusion. And he means it. Every word. Early on, talking to him sometimes felt like playing whack-a-mole. Just when I thought I had something figured out, another critique would come. And after some of our conversations, I would walk away feeling like I wasn't good enough. Like no matter what I did, there was always something else to fix. And I want to be honest about how that felt, because I think we don't always give ourselves permission to admit when feedback hurts, especially when it is coming from someone we respect and chose to learn from. It hurts sometimes. It made me question myself. And there were moments where I walked away from those conversations feeling smaller than when I walked in. But here's what I did instead of pulling away. I had an honest conversation with him. I told him how his approach was landing. I told him that I valued his insight, but that the way it was being delivered was making it harder for me to build confidence. And something shifted, not dramatically. He didn't suddenly become soft or warm or easy, but he adjusted. And I found that I could grow faster with that small shift in place. That moment taught me something I want every young woman navigating mentorship to hear. You're allowed to have a voice in this mentor-mentee relationship. You're allowed to tell someone how you need to be communicated with. Seeking guidance doesn't mean surrendering your self-awareness at the door, because respect and honesty are not opposites. You can deeply admire someone and still tell them the truth about your experience. That is not weakness. That is self-advocacy. And in a world that doesn't always make space for women to speak up, practicing it in the context of mentorship is one of the safest places to start. Looking back at both of these mentors, they're very different people with very different styles. But what made them both valuable comes down to one thing. They told me the truth. One through radical openness and generosity, the other through direct, sometimes uncomfortable feedback that forced me to grow thicker skin and sharper instincts. And my critical mentor gave me something else, a mindset shift that I carry with me every single day. He pushed me to stop thinking like an implementer and start thinking like a strategic leader, to go from someone who responds to someone who drives, to stop being an order taker and start leading the room, leading the sale, leading the conversation. He used to say, be like a pit bull that won't let go of a bone. Not aggressive, but committed, tenacious, unwilling to give up the pursuit. For any woman who has ever been made to feel like she should be quieter, more agreeable, less assertive in professional spaces, that reframe was powerful. It told me that my drive was not too much. It was exactly right. It just needed direction. But I want to be honest about the hard part too, because mentorship is not always easy, even when it is good. For me, the hardest thing was not knowing what to ask. If you're at the beginning of your career or in the early stage of a transition, you might know this feeling well. You sit across from someone with years of experience and you think, I know I need help, but I don't even know where to begin. I remember telling my mentor once that he already knows how to drive a manual car. He knows where the gears are, how the clutch feels, how to read the road. But I was so new that I didn't even know where the gears were yet. So how was I supposed to know what questions to ask? And what I learned is that it is okay to not know. Not yet. The questions come after. They come after the experiences, after the trials and errors, after you have set in enough uncomfortable situations and made enough mistakes that the gaps in your knowledge finally become visible to you. My mentor knew this. He didn't hand me a user manual. He let me figure things out. And yes, it was frustrating sometimes. There were moments where I just wanted someone to tell me exactly what to do. But looking back, I understand what he was doing. He was not withholding. He was protecting the learning. Because the lessons you arrive at on your own, through your own experience and your own struggle, those are the ones that stay with you. Those become yours in a way that no shortcut ever could. So if you're in that place right now, where you feel like you don't even know what you don't know, I want you to hear this. That's not a sign that you're behind. That's a sign that you are at the beginning of something real. Now, I want to talk about something practical because I think this is where so many women get stuck. How do you actually ask someone to be your mentor? I know it can feel intimidating, especially when the person you want to learn from is senior, accomplished, or working in a world you are still trying to break in. There's a voice that tells you, who am I to ask them for their time? But here is what made it easier for me. I came in humble. I wasn't pretending to know more than I did. I wasn't performing confidence I didn't have. I showed up honest about where I was and clear about what I was hoping to learn. Something that goes like this. I see the work you do and I really look up to you. I feel that I could use some improvement in this area. You have been in this space for a long time and I would love to learn from your experience. Would you be open to meeting with me bi-weekly to help guide me in the right direction? That's it. No elaborate pitch, no performance. Just honesty and a specific ask. And here's what I want you to remember. Most people who have worked hard to build their expertise, they want to share it. Being asked for guidance is often received as a compliment, not an imposition. The key is to be genuine, to be specific, and to show them that you are serious about the learning. You are not a burden for asking. You are giving someone the opportunity to matter to someone else's journey. Now, here's something I feel strongly about that I don't think gets said enough. A lot of people treat mentorship like it's a one-way street. Like the mentor holds all the wisdom and the mentee sits quietly, waiting to receive it, like you're back in classroom hoping the teacher covers exactly what you need. And I completely disagree with that. Mentorship, at its best, is an exchange. It is a conversation, not a lecture. And as the mentee, especially as a young woman still finding her voice in professional spaces, you have far more agency in that relationship than you might think. Don't put your mentor on a pedestal. Yes, respect them deeply. Yes, honor their experience. But don't be so passive that you let the mentorship become something that happens to you instead of something you are actively shaping. Drive the direction. Come to your sessions knowing what you want to work on. Tell your mentor what you are struggling with. Tell them what is landing and what is not. If their style is not working for you, say so. I did. And it made the mentorship more valuable for both of us. Because you're not there to be filled up like an empty cup. You're there as a partner in your own growth. And the quality of what you get out of mentorship is almost always directly connected to what you bring into it. The mentor is here to guide you, but only you can decide where you need to go. So I want to leave you with a few questions today. You don't have to answer them right now. I want you to sit with them. Is there someone in your world right now, someone whose work you admire, whose instincts you respect, whose path you want to understand better, that you have been watching them from a distance instead of simply reaching out? What's the story you're telling yourself about why you cannot ask? And if you already have a mentor, are you showing up as a partner in that relationship? Are you coming with intention? Are you honest about what you need? Or are you sitting back hoping the right thing comes up on their own? Because here's what I want you to know, especially if you're young, especially if you're new, especially if you're in the middle of a transition that feels bigger than you expected, you do not have to figure this out alone. You were never supposed to. The strongest, most accomplished women I know didn't get there by going at it alone. They asked. They sat across from people who were further along and said, I want to learn from you. Mentorship does not replace your journey. It supports it. Your mentors can give you perspective. They can shorten your learning curve. They can help you see what you can't see on your own. But they cannot do the growing for you. That part is still yours. It has always been yours. Nobody is going to hand you the manual. But the right people, if you ask them openly and honestly and show up with humility and hunger, will sit with you while you figure it out. And sometimes that changes everything. This is 1-800-GOAL-DIGGER, and I will talk to you in the next episode.